Hot Springs Village Inside Out is a closer look at the greatness of Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, and the surrounding areas. People, places, experiences. Hot Springs Village is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host, Dennis Simpson, as we engage in weekly conversations to explore Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Today's show is brought to you by Central Arkansas's favorite radio station, KVRE. Find them on the dial at 92.9 FM. Stream them live at kvre.com. RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village, the award-winning RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village, is the largest real estate office inside the village with over 30 full-time agents and support staff. Visit them to learn more about this beautiful place to solve your real estate needs. Call them today at 1-800-364-9007 or find them online at explorehsv.com. They are RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village at 1-800-364-9007 or online at explorehsv.com.
Let her go, Don.
Oh, hello, Dennis. Yes, it's me, the singing banker. So I've got a tune that I thought might make sense in these times. You ready?
I'm going to hear it, please.
Just what makes that little old ant think he can move a rubber tree plant? Everyone knows an ant can move a rubber tree plant, but he's got high hopes. He's got high hopes. He's got high in the sky apple pie
hopes.
So if you're ever feeling low, feel like letting go, just remember that ant. Oops, there goes another rubber tree. Oops, there goes another rubber tree. Oops, there goes another rubber tree plant. Kerplop.
Dun, dun. And with that, we begin Hot Springs Village Inside Out. My good friend, Mr. Don Gooch. Great guy. Don, President of Arvest Bank. Great to have you. And as you now know, the singing banker. Yeah. How do you get from now? You came from Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
How do you get from there to Hot Springs, Arkansas?
Well, I went to work for Arvest Bank in Oklahoma City about 21 years ago, and about 18 years ago, I moved to Duncan, Oklahoma, where we had some really good friends, and one of them had gone to the University of Arkansas Law School, and he loved to go to Oaklawn, and he said he knew the perfect place for us to take a couples retreat. And so we came over here and we stayed at the Arlington Hotel, and we ate at Bel Arte, and we ate at the Hamilton House, a couple places that aren't in existence anymore, but we went to Oaklawn. And as we were driving out of town, I saw that they were building a new Arvest Bank, and my wife leaned over to me and said, honey, we could live here and raise our family. Wouldn't that be great? So I made a phone call, and about 9 months later, they called me and asked me to come over and be the president for the market here in Hot Springs. So, you know, I'm definitely here by choice. I love Hot Springs and the Hot Springs Village area, and just see it as the best place to live. And I mean, this part of America for sure.
Quality of life's really hard to beat, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As I look out your back window there.
you know me, Don, yeah, it's a good view and everything, but you know what the price we got this? Man, it was a great deal. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that kind of thing.
We live on the lake in Hot Springs, and we feel like we just got the deal of the century too. So we just absolutely love it.
I tell you what, I think, Don, and I think we both got in about the same time. The bottom line is that the quality of life, the dollars spent, you can't beat it. Mm-hmm. I was actually in another small town yesterday, and I was working with a lady, and she said, well, I've got to go get my son and take him to a medical appointment. And I said, well, okay. And she said, yeah, it'll take me 10 or 15 minutes to get there. And I thought, most people don't think that way in a bigger city. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go pick my son up from school, and then I'm going to take him to another appointment, and it's going to be 45 minutes of traffic and whatever. We don't even think about that, Don. It just doesn't even cross our brains, right?
Well, think just a little bit about this shift that has happened in America with the COVID impact. Every company had employees that were working remotely, working at home. And we discovered that really they could be productive working from home. And so companies in the post-COVID marketplace have had to have some flexibility, or they're just losing employees. But what that told the employee was, I could live anywhere and do this job. So why wouldn't I live in the coolest place I could find. And so, Hot Springs Village, 9 golf courses, amenities, beautiful, gated community, low crime, hot springs, the lakes, the downtown, the national park, Oak Lawn, museums, Garvin Woodland Gardens, festivals out the wazoo, St. Patrick's Day Parade, former king, I might add, yes. But anyway, it just feels like we should be set up as a great destination for workforce going forward. And historically, I think economic development, we've thought, well, we need to go recruit a company that's got 300 employees and get them to move their business to Hot Springs. But, maybe our best efforts are to go recruit people who are relatively high wage employees out there and have them move here, and they could make a huge economic contribution to our community. So I think our future is extremely bright in that regard, both in Hot Springs Village and in Hot Springs. Quality of life is so high, cost of living is relatively low, and just people like you and me, Dennis.
Charming people.
Yeah.
Hello, duh.
Yeah.
Well, but no, let's go back to this a little bit more. There's a discussion. There has been a discussion in the village. Are we a resort? What? What? And the reason I joke about that is because anybody from the outside world would go, oh man, Hot Springs is just a resort city. The whole place, it's got a track, it's got a national park, it's got hiking trails, it's got boating trails, it's got everything. And you're asking, is this a resort? Well, of course it's a resort. We may be the last ones to be convinced of it, but your point's so well taken. We just had an interview with Clara Nicolosi this last week, and one of the things we commented was that she had noted that up to 40% of the home value rise that we see has been attributed to the ability to work from home. You got to live someplace, right? Yeah, you can work from home, but you got to live there, right?
I love it when people make me look smart. Thank you, Clara.
She did a very good job. Her and Forbes, the Forbes magazine, did a pretty good job of it too. But yeah, that said, no, what do you see? And Don, I know that I don't know is what I'm saying. A lot of details come under your plate or to your plate that never make it to the light of day. They never get funded. They never whatever. But a lot of them that do get funded, about them ahead of time and whatever. And I'm not asking for secret information. You know that. But what if you had a crystal ball, given what you do know about the community, what do you see happening in Hot Springs and Hot Springs Village? And we can't wait for the bypass to be open, by the way. That's us. But any day now would be good. Oh,
I think that is shared, Dennis.
Really?
I think absolutely. I think we recognize the impact that the homes, I guess the net income, the net worth of the village, the impact when it can eat more easily, do business, and have their medical needs taken care of here in Hot Springs. We recognize the impact that has. And I mean, while I think General Arwood was the voice that finally got us, he was the voice from the beginning to the end to help us get it across the finish line. But we certainly had some champions here in our community for that as well. And I think that's just a win-win situation. I'm hopeful that they'll, I think it's been delayed a little bit. There's been some supply chain issues and maybe a little engineering glitch, but it's going to be, I think it's worth the wait when it gets here. So we'll be excited about that. In terms of what I see going on here, in this rising interest rate environment, you would think that we'd have a real slowdown in home sales, which
right.
Maybe we have at some level, but there's still no inventory out there. So I see some homes being built in our markets, both in Hot Springs and Hot Springs Village. And I see even at, my first home that I bought was at 8.5% interest, and I was happy to buy it. And, I think plenty of people out there have had home purchases with an interest rate that was much higher. In the village, we continue to see a large number of cash sales. So people who live in California or, Chicago, they sell their home and they've got just a ton of equity in it, and they decide to move to Hot Springs Village, pay cash for their home. They've still got their nest egg, and the cost of living is so much more affordable. The tax situation is so much better. I think that kind of drives it.
And they don't wonder if this is a resort. They know it's a resort. From California, they move here and go, it's a resort. Wow,
And I think we can't underestimate the impact that the large investment that the Sella family made at Oak Lawn has made here in Hot Springs. It was just an economic driver. And we can't underestimate the impact that the 70 East construction project did for Hot Springs. I mean, once they get I-30 finished, which maybe never, but once that's complete, that'll probably be a 45-minute trip to Hot Springs to Little Rock from Hot Springs. And that really changes people's access to this community. So when they want to come and enjoy a Oak Lawn or something downtown, or Garvin Gardens, or ride their mountain bike,
or a great meal at 501 Prime or something.
501 Prime, DeLuca's have the Gooch pie, there all kinds of places they can go. But
we've actually
I just see a real positive. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we've reached out to DeLuca's, but we haven't got an interview with him yet. But when we do, we're going to ask about the Gooch pie, because that's too good to miss.
Oh, you got to.
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
anyway, he likes to talk. You'll get an interview. But
he's not shy.
I think that just given the fact that we have a quality of life, a quality of place here that's so much better than most of our surrounding areas, I think the future is extremely bright for us here. And I think we just need to, sometimes people who live here, we forget about how lucky we have it. And every time someone comes to visit me, I'm reminded of what a great place it is. So
just curious, you said you live on Lake Hamilton. Do you work on Section Line, or do you work out at Gigdon?
I do. I work on Section Line Road.
From your lake house to downtown to your center of town bypass, how long does it take you to commute, Don? 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
So you're enjoying a lake like this that has a stunning view, and in 5 minutes you're sitting at the office, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the things, and we take that for granted.
In 2 minutes, I can be to Luna Bella. In 4 minutes, I can be to J&S Italian Villa. I can have a Baconator sandwich from Wendy's on my way. It's great.
When I worked at Ethan Allen in high school as a delivery boy, we had a guy that worked with us, and his name was Raymond, and we called him Captain Eat 'em Up. And they said, why do they call him Captain Eat 'em Up? They said, everywhere we talk about going, he knows where we're going. To Russellville. What a burger. We're going to, he knew a great place in every town. I'm like, yeah, good food along the way. Well, then like you talk about J&S. Oh man, what a fantastic Italian place. And for those of you that don't know, let me back up, zoom in and zoom out just for a minute. The Hot Springs Village area, and Hot Springs to Hot Springs Village area, is included in what we would call the Tri-Lakes area. It's Lake Ouachita that is completely natural. No homes to speak of on that lake. Some 40-something thousand acres, gorgeous water reserve that comes out of that into Lake Hamilton, which is a lot of what the city's built around. Would that be fair enough to say?
Oh, sure.
And then we come out of that into Lake Catherine, which is another state park. So I think if you haven't been here and experienced it, you mentioned Garvin Gardens. Garvin Gardens is not 5 to 6 miles from Lake Catherine and the waterfalls. The Garvin Gardens is not 3 miles or 4 miles from the Fish Hatchery, or from Mount Mariante, or from any number of these great amenities. And like you say, Don, we just take it for granted. I get up and I'm going to be at work in 5 minutes, or I'm going to be at J&S in 4 minutes, or we literally take it for granted. I take for granted that 15 minutes out the north here, I'm in the middle of 1.8 million acres of national forest. Mm-hmm. We just take that for granted, Anyway,
I took my mom out to Garvin Gardens Saturday morning, and I hadn't been out there in a while, and it's just such a little piece of heaven, almost is what you'd call it. Was just so refreshing, peaceful, serene, magical. The peacocks were out there. George the peacock was, in full display. It was, of course, my mom, she's 87, and she just absolutely was at the peak of her game. And it made me so happy to have a place like that I could take her, because she just loves nature. Yeah. And so it was really
well. Let's talk about that one more time, because for the kids now, they have the train ride. The village woodworkers from the village have contributed and gone out and built basically a big tree house, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Anthony Chapel, which is a clone of the glass cathedral in Northwest Arkansas at Eureka Springs, and all this looks right down on the lake. It's you tell me, Don, that land, had Miss Garvin not given it to the UAF, Is there $50 million worth of land there?
It's amazing. Oh yeah, probably
Oh, I mean,
easily
that
400
point,
acres.
400 acres on the lake. What could you have developed? We could have built any kind of development, but you wouldn't have had tens of thousands of tulip bulbs every spring. You wouldn't have had the great, wonderful light shows at Christmas. And we're just kind of focusing on one event. You could say the same thing about Oaklawn. Oaklawn's a world-class resort. Right. The hotel is first class. It's extremely nice. Everything there is really nice. And it's one of many. I feel like we literally sweep them under the rug,
And I think, maybe through the years, one piece that's been missing a little bit is just the quality of service level has been maybe a little lower than what we would have really wanted it to be. But I would say across the board with wherever you go, I feel like that service level is rising. I definitely think Oaklawn has brought a new level of service there, but there are so many places that you can look at. I mean, you mentioned 501 Prime. You go there, it's exceptional service. The Waters Hotel downtown, you go in there, there's place after place you can name that's just really brought our service level up so high.
Well, let me come back to this, Don. And once again, thanks for joining us today. I hope we can do this in the future again and just do an update with you on a regular basis. One of the things that really hit me that I was always thinking about, you mentioned, it used to be our idea of economic development was we went out and begged and pleaded for some blue collar jobs that they would build a facility and we would give them an unholy tax break and an unholy tax break on the employees because we were so desperate to get, and don't get me wrong, 300 employees in a town like ours, that's an economic dent. That would make an impact. But instead of having 300 blue collar workers that we have to literally pay the company to come and do that for, and we have to cut them such a real estate tax break and a employment tax break. Instead of that, we have a couple of thousand digital nomads who show up on the shores and go, hey, I'm working and I'm making a great living and I have virtually no impact on the environment besides just a homeowner. And I've got great internet. And why couldn't I have lived here? Why was I suffering through the Chicago winters all this time when I could have lived in Hot Springs area, right?
Sure. I want to be clear though. We've got to have blue collar workers and we've got to have white collar workers. Yeah. And I mean, I think that we have a healthy mix of that here in our community, and I like it. I think that that diversity that we have here makes us a more appealing place. And so, I certainly think we've got some incredible manufacturing places around, and I'm certainly thrilled that we have them, and wouldn't want to do without them ever.
And I didn't mean to sound like I was disparaging.
Oh, I know. I knew you didn't, but I just want people to be clear that they make a huge economic contribution to our community here, and we wouldn't want them to feel like we were discounting that in any way.
Any way. Well, but my point is that so many times, and I'm talking about AEDC, I'm not talking about Hot Springs particular.
Right.
That when we want a manufacturing company to come in, everybody is competing for it. It's not just Hot Springs. It's not just Arkansas. It's everybody in the South in particular really busting their butts for it because we want that mix, as you say, and those economic jobs coming in. But it has gotten to a point where we're buying some of the jobs, if you know what I mean, with our tax breaks and our tax dollars, as opposed to these digital nomads that we're not buying them anything.
So interestingly enough, for those digital nomads that you've coined them, but Bentonville, I know that they have started a program where they'll actually give away a certain amount of money. It's $5,000 or $10,000. I can't remember how much it is, but the people that come have to meet certain benchmarks. They have to serve on a board, or they have to do a certain amount of volunteer service. Tulsa, Oklahoma has done a program similar, and they really target the type of professional, the young professional that they're looking for. And I think they've both been fairly successful. I don't think they've been overwhelmingly successful. And I think what's kind of cool about Hot Springs is I don't know that we need to pay people. We just need them to make them aware of all the great amenities that we have here. And, our schools are fantastic too. And
you touched on it. I was getting ready to come right there. Yeah. Tell me about Fountain Lake. Tell me about the Central. Tell me about these places in your opinion. You've seen a lot of schools. I know you have.
When I moved here from Oklahoma, I was, I didn't know that much about Arkansas, and I was concerned that my children might be a little bit behind. We ended up going to Park Elementary. It's a international baccalaureate school that's a part of the Hot Springs school district, and my kids were way behind when we got here. And they gave them
Really?
a great foundation. That school, I was really, really impressed with it. We ended up moving, and our kids ended up going to Lakeside for that's where they graduated from. Both of my daughters have felt extremely well prepared as they've gone to college.
In Oklahoma, is that did both of them
I
go
had
to
one
Oklahoma?
daughter that went to Oklahoma. She went to Oklahoma State, and she was a digital sports media major, and her work with the broadcasting department at Lakeside just set her up to be she now works for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And so it's
Are you serious?
right. Yeah. And then my other daughter is a civil engineering major and has taken every calculus you can take at Ole Miss. And I will brag, she has made A's on all of them. So, you know, but
Really?
Lakeside, great preparation. You know, Lake Hamilton, certainly a wonderful school. Hot Springs schools, I work closely with them. We've done the Teacher of the Year award there for 14 years. And I can tell you that they're on a, you know, they really, really care about every student that's there. And, you know, this year they talked a lot about that student has to trust you and believe that you care before you can really start moving somewhere. And that's the way they're doing it there. And I'm really impressed with that. One of the guys I work with, his son goes to Fountain Lake, and it just seems like a wonderful school out there. I heard great things about Jessieville. I don't know as much about it personally, but I know it's close to the Shack. So it wouldn't, I remember when my daughter would play volleyball out there, I didn't mind it that much because I double cheeseburger, you know, it fit me pretty well. But,
one of the best hamburgers in the state. I love the Shack. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I just wanted, you know, kind of the inside outside perspective. I knew that you had come from other areas. I didn't realize that. I would have thought that was it Tulsa or was it Oklahoma City?
It was Duncan, Oklahoma,
Duncan.
which is it was actually the home of Halliburton. It was a nice, very nice community. So it was surprising to me that we were as behind as we were. But anyway, that's a
no.
We have sometime.
And now, if I'm not mistaken, I know one, but I don't know both. Are both of your daughters musical or just one?
Oh yeah, we're all musical. Gooches are musical.
Is that what happens?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Is that Italian?
No, it's English, British.
English, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll be.
The first mayor of Jamestown was William Gooch, who was sent to America by the King of England. And at one point, Goochland was a part of Virginia that was about a third of Virginia.
It wasn't
today, there's a Goochland, Virginia, that's between Charlottesville and Richmond. And I went there, and I've got my picture taken by the Goochland Diner. You know, it was. I would have figured
it would have been Goochlandia or something like that.
Well,
you know, a little grander vision, if you know what I mean.
No, it was British, you know, so just Goochland.
Upper stip lip. Mm-hmm. Wanted to come back to just a couple more things, and thanks for your time. We really appreciate it, Don. And I know. Let me ask this. I go like we had Scott on a few days ago, and when we interviewed Stephanie, we asked the same thing. When would be the best? What is the best reason to talk to you? Do I talk to you when I've got a really, really big deal and all the other people are kind of talking up to you and asking a deal, or am I civically minded?
What I would say, Dennis, is I'm a banker first. You know, I'm a regional director of community banks is my title, but I'm a banker first, and I enjoy people, and I love discussing, you know, business, what their dreams are. So anybody can talk to me. I probably wouldn't be the person who would actually help them with a loan request, but I'm always happy to talk to anyone about any banking issue at Arvest. And so that's kind of, I think you'll find that throughout our organization. We're not trying to let our title get in the way of helping people. That's our mission statement is people helping people find financial solutions for life. And I know I don't want to sound trite or cliche, but if we kind of keep that at the front of our mind, that really takes us a long way.
Well, it's a guiding path statement that tells you where you want to go, you know. And anytime I've talked with you when we've had business meetings or whatever, it's not just that you're a great sounding board to hear something coming back off of. You know, you've asked me questions before, like, why would you do that? And I'm thinking, That is a bad idea. I'm glad he said that. But you need literally a banker friend, somebody you can talk to. But not only that, your perspective, because I know you see a lot of business deals that come and go, that work and don't go. And I know when you sit down with somebody and you're asking them what kind of business they're talking about, you have got to have gears turning, going, okay, this is a great idea, or I don't know, have you thought all this through? Maybe we need to SBA this with somebody, or that's just how it is, right?
I would say kind of a neat thing in our world today is all the tools that we have to help people who are starting on a business venture along that are free. The Small Business Technology Center is pretty amazing. We try to get people who are thinking about starting a new business up to help them vet their idea. They'll help you with your QuickBooks. They'll help you with your social media advertising. They'll help you do a pro forma income statement so you can kind of determine if you meet the expectations that you have. They've got some help to fill in expense and that type of thing that would let you know if you were actually going to be profitable or not and make enough money to pay the bank back.
Well, now this is from UALR. Is that the one you're talking about, the Small Business Technology
There was
Center?
one at Henderson, but they kind of combined that down now at UALR. And they're amazing partners.
I went through this class some 30 years ago. And I remember thinking, I was a printer, so I would see people come in. Were you
7, Dennis?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was actually 12, but it's been a day or so. But all that said, I remembered seeing people come in when I was in banking, and I would look and I would go, man, that's a great idea. Do y'all need investors? Like I had money at the time to invest. But then I would hear other ideas, and I'm like, we may need cash up front on this printing, because I don't know if that's gonna, and it's not that. And not a stereotype or judgmental. It's just you learned very quickly. You kind of got an idea for what was going to happen. Well, I went from that to forming my own computer company, and I had a business partner at the time that wanted me to go through the Small Business Technology course, and it was like a Saturday morning at the time. And I remembered hearing a lot of what I knew, follow small business, do a DBA or a small incorporation or a partnership or blah blah blah, and it was all great content. It was all content I had already heard because I'd worked with other businesses a lot, right, and other newly forming businesses. But I do remember them talking about the SIC codes, or at the time they called them SIC codes, where you categorize different businesses. And this would have been in the mid to late 90s. And they were talking about a place that was starting a Blockbuster location, a rental location. And they explained how much it would cost per foot. They explained how much you could, in that SIC code, how much you could expect to gross there. And they went through the whole deal. And they sat down with this gentleman who was going to build one of these in Searcy. And he said, well, no, ours is different because we're going to have popcorn, and we're going to have this, and we're going to have the snacks, and we're going to have the whatever. And they sat down and just showed him in hard, cold facts after he had signed the lease. It would be virtually impossible for you to generate enough income to pay for this space that you've already committed for if you had come to us earlier. I mean, it takes the guesswork out of small business.
I mean, there's still some extenuating factors, and some people are just incredible managers and they do better than the numbers would indicate. But it's certainly a step that I would advise anybody thinking about, doing a business to do. One thing you told me a few things that maybe I might prepare for on this deal. So you asked me kind of some of the funniest things that had ever happened to me in banking. So maybe not, I'm not can say every single thing, but one thing is when I moved to town, I don't know, I think I wore an Elvis costume to something. Well, the next thing you know, I was Elvis at Garvin Woodland Gardens. I was Elvis at a chili cook-off at the Realtor, so that was pretty funny. And then that same chili cook-off, one year I was dressed up like a Jamaican because I had made Jamaican jerk chicken chili, and I did win the contest. One time they had me doing a chicken wing eating contest at the place that's not here anymore.
Wild Wings, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings. And
I'm trying to see you in dreadlocks. I still can't get the dreads.
I was the winner of the wing eating contest. Just a couple weekends ago, I went over the edge of the 7-story building downtown for the Jackson House. I did the rappelling thing.
Oh, that was really?
My funniest story is we had this customer and we had a loan with them, but I really wanted them to have their deposits with us. And my customer told me, well, we're with Summit Bank, and I'm ready to move, but my office manager is really the one that's going to need to make that decision. And so the office manager was a lady that was pretty serious about you. She was serious. And so I'd been in to call on her, and I was trying to, and somebody said, well, she really loves, he heard you sing somewhere and she loves that or something. So I got my portable keyboard, I carried it up into her office, and I plugged it in. She said, what are you doing? I said, just wait, you'll see. And so I had changed the words to Imagine by John Lennon.
Yeah.
And I said, imagine there's no summit. It's easy if you try. I had a whole little song for
only Arvest before you.
Yeah. And I walked out of there, and she moved the account. So that's probably my funniest.
So you sang your way into an account, is what I'm hearing.
That was, one and only time. Sometimes I think I annoy people. My singing may, not always win business, but
no, and you're wonderful. And by the way, those of you who have never sung a cappella, I encourage you to try it on camera sometime. Yeah. I'm sorry, Don, go ahead.
One other thing I wanted to say is, so I'm not going to make any kind of guess exactly what interest rates are doing or that type of thing. But I think just read. There's a high probability that we could be facing a recession, or that we could just be facing some more difficult economic times. And whether you're an individual or whether you're a business owner, whether you're thinking about retirement, I think there's probably never a better time to have a relationship with a banker. And I think we have great bankers at Arvest. Love to talk to you at Arvest, but whatever bank that you might be with, make sure that when you're having the conversations with the banker, that they're listening and they're truly thinking about what your situation is, and not trying to cram some product, but actually contemplating what would be best for you, the customer. And I promise, going through hard times, it's better when you've got a good relationship with the banker.
We had Scott DeBoer on, a couple of weeks ago, and a wonderful interview. I always enjoy talking to him too. And he put it in the very best terms. If there's a tough skid ahead, call us first. Mm-hmm. Don't wait till, we think it's going to be a tough skid. We're 60 days into a tough skid. We're 90 days into a tough skid. Mm-hmm. We have no idea how we're going to work this. You should have called us 120 days ago, right? And I think it's like calling mom and dad and going, hey, I think I'm going to have financial problems. Nobody wants to do that. But what's your advice there?
The bank wants you to succeed. The bank wants to help you get through a tough time. The bank doesn't, the last thing the bank would ever want would be for you to fail. So if you call us early, like Scott said, we'll try to work with you to create solutions that can help you get through the tough time. And we're not going to manage your business for you, but we're going to try to be a partner that can help you. We've got a good network of people that we work with. So sometimes we can introduce you to someone else who can help. That's what I would say.
Well, y'all have literally got thousands, and I'm assuming thousands of small businesses on the books mm-hmm. that you're helping, doing their deposits, helping their investments, helping their wealth management. All these systems, there's very little you haven't seen after a couple of decades, am I guessing?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. I mean, there's always that's one thing I like about being a banker is you never know what you're going to do the next day. And there's always something new that you've never seen before. But we do have a lot of experience with a lot of different kinds of businesses, and we've seen most of the scenarios out there and usually have a good solution. Not always, but usually.
Yeah. Well, so, and we'll come back to this in just a minute, but as far as the recession goes, do you see 5% correction, 10% correction, then we go back to growth, or do you see an extended stagnation period, or what are you thinking?
I don't really know that I want to comment on that, Dennis. I'm sure. That's just not really, I don't know. I do foresee a pretty good potential that we could have a difficult time ahead. That's about the extent of what I would want to prognosticate, because I don't know how I would know how long it's going to be or anything like that. But
yeah, well, and I've said this before on another show, and I want to share. I don't mind sharing my personal information to some degree. Diane and I have a LLC that holds our Airbnbs. You guys set us up on a 5-1. 5 or 6 years ago, 5-1 ARM, and that resets every 5 years. We have been paying roughly, including insurance, roughly $1,200 a month on these townhouses and small homes and whatever. And of that $1,200, better than $900 to $950 goes to principal every month. Mm-hmm. if I haven't said thank you repeatedly, Don, I will tell you thank you repeatedly, because, you're doing that in your mind as a business owner, starting a new business. You're saying, okay, well, I need to maximize cash flow. Well, another $300 or $400 in the month in the bank to me wouldn't mean that much. Being able to pay nearly $1,000 down on principal every month on properties that have jumped nearly twice in value in the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, a logarithmic shift in our finances, simply because we've been working with you guys, and you knew a 5-1 ARM was the best way to handle this for us. Fantastic rates at the time. Yes. Are there going to be other rates? Yeah, we'll have to adjust for that. But that said, I mean, we were able to build up a nest egg in real estate savings very, very quickly.
Kind of along that line, kind of an interesting thing. So the 30-year mortgage rate has jumped up above 6. I mean, it's even been above 7 a little bit. I don't know exactly what it is today.
Ouch, yeah.
But we have a product. It's a 7-1 ARM, and an ARM is an adjustable rate mortgage. So it will fix for 7 years, and then after 7 years, it adjusts based on some benchmark and prime or something like that. But most people, they're not in the house for more than 7 years. So thinking about that and our rate on that 7-1 is about 2% less than the 30-year mortgage rate right now. So it's pretty attractive. We're doing a lot of those right now.
Because most people usually stay in their house about 7 years, really.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, no idea. It's a product that's out there. It's interesting. And if you are looking to maybe buy a home and you've got sticker shock looking at the 30-year rate, you might just look around. There's some other options out there that are a little more affordable. There's still not the 2.75% fixed for 30-year rate that was available, a while back. But
well, and I think, to be fair about it, the 2.3 30 that was a couple of years ago, last time we had a pandemic would be 90 years ago. Yeah, this was unprecedented area. And so now you look at a 6% note and you're like, "Ooh, wow, 6%." Historically, we're back in the zone, right? I mean, is that fair?
Try the 21% in 1980.
I was there. I was there. Yeah. I remember Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter helped us with that. Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, Don, as always, buddy, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for being on with us.
Happy to be on, Dennis. Thanks for all you do in Hot Springs Village, and just you're always a joy to be around. So I really enjoyed being on today, and happy to come back if you ever think you want me.
I promise. Right. Ditto, and a pleasure to be around you too, Don. A delight. For Hot Springs Village, Inside Out, I'm Dennis Simpson. He is Mr. Don Gooch, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village, Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.